Hi guys, and welcome back. I think I've decided to call these Tapman teachings. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to be continuing to talk about the development of Atlanta by talking about two important people. All right, you've got William B. Hartsfield and then Ivan Allen Jr. And if Hartsfield sounds a little familiar, it's because we have an airport named after him. So we're going to be talking about how instrumental these two men were in developing the city of Atlanta. So let's go. All right, so starting with William B. Hartsfield. So Hartsfield was known for two things. First, he was a big proponent of getting transportation into the state. Second was his coinage of the phrase, which is often used to talk about Atlanta's racial tolerance, which is the city too busy to hate. Now, before you're like, what do you mean racial tolerance? Yes, the civil rights movement was a big deal, and we did have some issues here in the city. But when you look at other cities across the South, I don't think Atlanta saw as much hatred and violence as other cities, especially when you look at like places like Mississippi and Alabama. It still happened. It just wasn't necessarily as bad. Interesting fact about Hartsfield is he never graduated from high school or college. So, but don't be like him because that's rare, okay? And it was a different time back then. So finish school, get your high school diploma. If you want to go to college, great, learn a trade, whatever. That's just my 2 cents, okay? But don't be like, oh, I'm going to be like Hartsfield. He didn't finish. No, different time, okay? Education is important. He's actually known for being Atlanta's longest serving mayor. He served from 37 to 41, lost, and then picked up in 42 to 61. And like I said earlier, his support of the civil rights movement kept Atlanta from a lot of the racial violence that took over a lot of the other southern cities. So there is a picture. I love the picture where he is laughing and smiling because you can just kind of tell that he has a nice, wonderful kind of demeanor about him, which is different from what we can see with politicians today. But obviously he was an older man. All right, so he was born in Atlanta and he attended the city's public schools. Like I said earlier, he never finished school, but he worked at a law firm and he spent his nights studying for the bar exam, which allows you to practice law. And he passed his bar exam. So it's not like he didn't have any education at all. He was actually a very smart man, and then he opened his own law firm once he was admitted into the bar in 1921. Of course, in 22, he began his political career when he was elected to the Atlanta City Council. And as a member of that council, he commenced his lifelong support of aviation, which, for those of you who aren't familiar, aviation is flights and airplanes and things like that. And so, of course, he was very instrumental in opening Atlanta's first airport, hence Hartsfield International Airport. It wasn't called that back then, though. All right, so in 37, he became mayor of Atlanta, and in his first term, he did a lot of things to kind of help alleviate people's issues during the Great Depression, because remember, we don't really see the Great Depression end until we get into World War II. He convinced the president of Coca-Cola to finance the December payroll for the city in 1936. That's I don't know, that's crazy. That's like saying, I don't know what that's like saying, but it's really crazy that he got the president of a company to basically just pay the city's payroll, obviously on top of his own payroll, you know, for the goodness of the people of Atlanta. He lost in 1940, the mayor election, but he was reelected in 42. When the mayor Robert Lee Craw had to leave to go fight in World War II. And then, of course, after that, he remained in office for almost 20 years. So he was in there for a while. Here's a couple of other pictures of him, Hartsfield after an Atlanta attack. So he wasn't necessarily like the type of politician that would just sit behind a desk. He was always out and about and really caring for the city that he was in charge of. So during the second part of his time as mayor, he was really important to having integration happen into Atlanta public schools in a really calm manner. I know you guys have heard stories about how when integration became legal and they had to make that happen, that a lot of places were very resistant and violence broke out and things like that. Under Hartsfield's leadership, that wasn't necessarily the case. And of course, he also tripled the size of Atlanta. He coined the term "the city too busy to hate" for Atlanta. And he retired from public office in 1961. He died in 71, and that's when Atlanta named the airport after him in his honor. So William B. Hartsfield, super important guy for the city of Atlanta. All right, Ivan Allen Jr. So this is the guy that took over after Hartsfield decided to retire, and he basically continued this progressive idea for the city's development. He was actually even more adamant about civil rights than Hartsfield was. In fact, on his first day as mayor, he had all the white and colored signs removed from City Hall and desegregated the building's cafeteria. He was like, I got time for this nonsense. Let people do what they need to do. He was the son of a business leader who was Ivan Allen Sr., hence why he's Jr. He Jr. graduated from Georgia Tech and worked for his father's office products company, and then he became president of his father's company in 46 when he came back from serving World War II. As a leading figure in Atlanta for many years, after the war, he decided that he was going to run for mayor. And he won. Of course, being a proponent of the civil rights movement, he worked with Martin Luther King Jr. and other Atlanta businesses to secure the city's smooth transition into desegregation. And I use smooth lightly, but smoother than others. As you can see here, we have some pictures. We have a picture of him as a young boy. When he was a young boy, he participated in the Boy Scouts. And then, of course, we have a picture where he is talking with Coretta Scott King and Martin Luther King Jr. at his first integrated social event. So Allen continued to grow the city. He was instrumental in 285 being built, and for those of you who don't necessarily know what 285 is, it is the interstate that circles Atlanta. So it kind of, if you're on the inside of 285, you're inside the perimeter, and if it's basically the perimeter. 285 is the perimeter. He was a big advocate for MARTA, which of course is very important today in getting people to and from jobs and places where they need to be, along with 55 new building projects during his time as mayor. So he was very busy. But one of the things that he's best known for is bringing major sport leagues to the city of Atlanta. So no matter how you feel about Atlanta sports teams, because I know a lot of us have a lot of heartbreak behind these teams, even if we support them or don't support them. But these sports teams bring a lot of money into the city, and so they are so important. Think about all the people that come to watch these people play. Even if they're coming to watch the opponent team come and play, they're still paying for a ticket, and they're paying to be in Atlanta. So he said, you know what, this is a really good business opportunity for the city of Atlanta, and we're going to start the construction of major league stadiums. As you can see, he is standing, I'm not really sure which stadium if I had to guess, I want to say maybe it's not Turner Field, because that was like too early for Turner Field, but it's the state. I want to say it's like Fulton Stadium. Not real sure. All right. So with all of these sports teams in major league arenas and venues being built, they became known as a major league city. And those facilities that he helped build helped to bring the 1996 Olympic Games to Atlanta. He brokered a deal to bring the Atlanta Braves in 1966. Then he also persuaded the NFL to start a new franchise, which became known as the Falcons. And then the basketball team, the Hawks, would come in 1968. So he is responsible for bringing those 3 major league teams to the city. Of course, since then, we've had a hockey team. We've had arena football. We now have an MLS team, Major League Soccer with Atlanta United. We've had a women's soccer team. We have a women's basketball team. So we have all of these sports going for us, and I'm sure I've left off some stuff. But those things are so important to our economy. Regardless of what you feel about the Falcons or the Braves or the Hawks, they do bring revenue into the state. So Ivan Allen Jr. gets 2 thumbs up for me. All right, guys. So that concludes our talk about Hartsfield and Ivan Allen Jr. Now, make sure to go and do the second part of your pathway, which is where you guys will be looking at them in a little bit more detail and doing some compare and contrasting. I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.